How do you have quality of life when you're totally dependent on others to satisfy your needs? And how do you achieve job satisfaction when your whole job is trying to meet those needs? And how do caregivers keep on caring? In this video, we will look at the needs of carers at home and in the institution, and the needs of those dependent on that care. Hopefully, we will become more aware of all our needs so that we can gain satisfaction from the caring we give while providing quality of life. Hi, this is Sue. Those of you who saw our previous video, Aspects of Caring, will remember that Sue spent her working life in nursing. But 5 years ago, she had to stop work because she was diagnosed with a chronic progressive disease. Sue has since lost her vision and mobility, her ability to swallow safely and to speak, and has had to cope with a sudden dramatic change in lifestyle. Sue, are you happy? You know, there are many people who, when they look at you, would say, oh, if that ever happened to me, I just wouldn't want to live. Do you want to live? To keep Sue living at home requires organization and teamwork. I'm the primary caregiver, but I go out to work 4 days a week, and I must ensure at least one night a week of unbroken sleep. So nurses work 4 day shifts a week and about 6 nights a month. All caregivers must have respite, and so friends and volunteers from our church spend some evenings with Sue. Sue will stay at home so long as this is the most appropriate place for her care and quality of life. A similar decision was made by the Bradshaw sisters about their mother, who had Alzheimer's disease.
Mother celebrated her 100th birthday this year, and we're really proud of her. We think she's doing great, don't we? Yes. My sister and I have been looking after our mother for at least 12 years, and while there have been times that have been difficult, it's been a real joy having her at home.
Other frail elderly and chronically ill live in institutions where their caregivers are professionals and volunteers. Let's look at the needs of the dependent and of their caregivers following Maslow's hierarchy. To start with, we all have physical needs. Sue must be comfortable, and her body moved regularly. She needs massage and good skin care, chest clapping to keep the congestion in her lungs moving, and to breathe more freely. She must never feel hungry. Her nutrition comes via a gastric tube. But taste. Does life have the same quality if you don't have the opportunity to taste? Sue chooses what she wants to taste, including pureed meat and vegetables. Fruit comes from baby food or applesauce, and Sue's love of chocolate is also satisfied. Her mouth care, which includes antiseptic washes to keep down gum infections and fluoride rinses to keep down cavities, also add freshness and taste. They add quality.
Residents' meal times are really, really important, and I find that they can be turned off a meal just at the way they're served their dinner. Well, I always try and keep a smile on people's face, on my face, so that the residents are able to start off their day with a good smile and a good laugh. I try and add a little bit of a skip and a jump to my dance.
When lives have limited pleasures, feeding becomes even more important. Caregiver feeding must be done slowly, with eye contact, conversation, and closeness. In the institution, one staff member may have to feed more than one person at a time, but while being fed, that person is entitled to 100% of the staff member's attention. These precious moments can be lost if a caregiver gives in to distractions. Feeding is an opportunity to create an enjoyable experience, which will make the individual more relaxed, less demanding, and feel as a human being. A positive feeding experience can satisfy many needs, leading to a calmer, more content individual. Exercise is also important for physical well-being. It enhances circulation, bowel function, and appetite and sleep. Even when it is passive range of movement, it will reduce contractures, stiffness, and pain.
But a lot of the satisfaction of my job is nonverbal. Just knowing that they're resting and they're not in pain, that they're sitting comfortably in their chair. They'll sleep better at night, because they've had a good day. A healthcare aid's job is to look after the total resident, the total person, and walking is part of their daily living. Therefore, it's my job. Maybe I'm not a therapist, but you don't need to be a therapist to assist someone to walk.
As individuals, we also need to feel secure, safe. Those who depend on others must be given choices to reinforce some sense of control. We who give care must earn the trust of others. It must not be presumed or taken for granted. Sue cannot tell me what she wants. I have to ask. Sue could choke at any time. She knows she is never alone, that help is always there. When staff are busy in the institution, they must never promise anything like, "I'll be back in 5 minutes," if there's a chance they cannot live up to that promise. Without trust, a dependent individual will resist care and will often display resentment towards those who must attend to them. Maslow believes much of our behavior revolves around our need to love and be loved, to belong, to be part of a group. The frail, elderly, and chronically ill have fewer opportunities to have these needs met, but it is when we treat another person with respect that we show our caring. Some individuals yearn to be touched, others just value individualized attention. Some believe that giving attention breeds the desire for more and label demanding people as attention-seeking. But the time it takes to satisfy basic needs is far less than the time it takes to handle a resistive individual whose needs were not met.
I treat all the residents as individuals. I try to find what they like, what makes them feel special, and I find time in my day to speak to each and every one of them and do the little things that they like. The back rubs, I find time to help residents with jewelry. I find time to, put cream on dry skin if they're itchy, especially this time of year with the heat on. Okay, the time I give the resident is their time, and they have 100% of my undivided attention. And I make eye contact. I might hold their hand. I listen to what they have to say, and when they're satisfied with the care and if they're finished, then I'll move on to my next duty.
And then I love my job. I really do, and I like the residents. And I always, when I'm in a room or even I'm doing floors in the morning, and if they're still in there, I said, "Well, good morning, and how are you all today?" and stuff like that. When I walk into a room, I treat the residents' processions the same as I do at home.
Complimenting residents, I think, is very important. A lot of these people, and a lot of people in general, never get complimented. And what does it take to say, oh, does your hair ever look nice today? And your dress is gorgeous, did you just get it new? And little things can just set their day so well. And they start to see that you just don't look at them as per se patient, but as a person.
My father ended his days in a long-term care facility. He didn't know who I was or where he was, but by looking at him, I could see his needs were met. He was secure, comfortable, well-nourished, and treated with respect and dignity. He'd always been a collar and tie man, clean-shaven and well-dressed. That's how he'd always faced the world, and that's how he appeared in the institution also. My father was totally unaware of the effort it took to look after him, but my family knew, and the staff knew we knew, and they were aware that they had earned our respect. Our self-esteem is not only tied to our accomplishments, but will be enhanced or diminished by how others behave towards us, whether we are treated with respect and dignity. It is the denial of our humanness that hurts the most. Sue has always told me that she gets the most angry when professionals call her she and dismiss her from direct conversation.
The whole concept of care of the elderly, whether you're talking about nursing care or programming or whatever aspect of care you're delivering to the disabled adult or the elderly, it's not that complex to figure out. All you have to do is look into your own self and think, how would I like to be treated? What type of approach would I like? Would I like to be treated in a dignified manner? Yes. Would I like choices? Yes. Would I like to not be isolated because I'm disabled? Yes. All of those things. And if we can keep remembering that as service providers, it'll help us really keep in tune with the way we should be dealing with people.
When I'm working in the institution, what I would do differently, first of all, I would treat each person individually, because you can't base all people and say, oh, you know, because they're elderly, they're all the same. They all have all different needs to be met. And if you meet them on an individual based, and you know, I find it's very important that a lot of nurses, they don't find the time to listen to their clients. Their clients will be talking to them, and it's like they couldn't care less about what the client, you know, the client is saying. They treat them as if they're not there, and I think you have to treat them with respect, and it boils down to dignity. So what I'm saying, you have to treat these people with respect, because, you know, the same way you want to be treated, I'm sure that's the same way they want to be treated. So that would be my major goal, you know, to find time. I know it's hard to make the time, but you have to find the time, because I work in an institution, and I see where, you know, they'll be feeding a client and they'll be carrying a conversation. You tell me, is that any morality to that client? You know, you're treating the client as if the client's an object.
If society devalues the chronically ill and the elderly, so it decreases the status of those who professionally or voluntarily care for them. Those who work in children's hospitals, emergency departments, or intensive care units are revered, are exalted for the contribution they're making to mankind. But the person who looks after a loved one who has Alzheimer's disease, or the nursing aide who works in a long-term care facility, has no such status. When one is considered worth less, it affects the morale and consequently the behavior. We all need to be appreciated and feel respected for what we do. This reward encourages greater effort.
Caregivers need recognition. They need a pat on the back. For example, Mother had a nasty fall and we had to take her to the hospital to see whether or not there were any fractures. And when the doctor was examining her, she made the comment that, well, you can see your mother has very good care. Her skin is beautiful. I must admit that did something for my morale and for my ego. And it energized me to keep on going. And I think that's what we all need.
I know I'm contributing to Sue's quality of life because of the sense of humor that she has, and that the interaction that is given between the two of us. I'll tell her a story and she laughs, and she's aware of her surroundings, and the quality of life is enhanced by volunteering and having a volunteer with her. Volunteering for me gives me a sense of satisfaction, it gives me a sense of self-worth, wholeness, and last but not least, I enjoy being appreciated. It's a wonderful feeling, to know that I have contributed to someone's life.
Okay, despite the fact that we're working with people and we're understaffed, we're stressed out, it's at the end of the day when you do a good job, it's such a rewarding feeling. And I feel sorry for those nurses with bad attitude who doesn't give, because nursing is such a rewarding career. The more you give, the more fulfilling you are, because you're working with humans and you have to treat them individual. And it boils down, you have to be respectful and treat them just the way as you would want to be treated. You agree with me, Sue? Yeah?
Working in a job like this, when you leave it to go home at night, you really have a sense of feeling that you've done something very useful, very good, very meaningful. And that's how you feel.
But some days are tougher than others for caregivers.
If I'm dragging, it really impacts on my mother. She's not nearly as cooperative. I can't get her to perform the tasks that she might normally do, and everything becomes much more difficult.
And I find if you start your day in a bad mood, everything goes wrong. If you start your day being glad you're here with a smile on your face, knowing you're going to make somebody happy, even if it's only one person, then your day will run smoother.
I know that if I don't look after myself, and if I don't take care of myself, that I'm not going to be able to carry out this kind of care effectively. I'm going to be more impatient, I'm going to be less tolerant, and chances are I'm not going to be as compassionate as I should be with the people in my care. So it's very important to look after yourself.
Some days I wish I could wake up and have absolutely no responsibilities. This is why it's important to have some time to yourself, to discipline yourself to get out and do something that you would like to do.
When I come home from a day's work and take over full responsibility for Sue's care, I try to incorporate the things into our life together which bring me pleasure and satisfy my need for replenishment of body and soul. Taking holidays together may take great organization and effort, and using a traveling Hoyer is more tiring than my in-home lifting system, but the rewards are great. Nature and the outdoors provide me with nourishment and serenity, and we can share that together.
I find working as a homemaker very rewarding. Knowing I'm helping disabled and elderly people live at home where they want to be. As a homemaker, you have to endure insults and take it with a smile. The problem is, I take it home and cannot sleep at night. I must learn not to take it personally. It is important we understand why they behave the way they do. The disease that causes it, or sometimes it is their reaction to the disease or loss of independence.
While learning to live with loss and fear and change, the dependent person often makes the caregiver's life miserable with complaints and belittling and criticism. And when caregivers learn that extra effort will not bring satisfaction, we say, "What's the point?" And quality of the job done deteriorates. This leads to disappointment and frustration, and when we fail to meet our own expectations and those others place on us, the caregiver then becomes the critical one, the belittler, and the complainer.
That is a problem, because you see with nursing, don't matter how much you're good of a nurse, like it doesn't even valid as long as when you make one mistake, then you know how you're such a bad nurse. So in nursing we really need to be getting positive feedback, especially from our director, our co-worker. We have to work as a team, and giving positive feedback, it just make your working condition and environment a much better and a happier place to work.
In every nursing home or home for the aged, you'll find negative staff, but what you need to try to stay away from getting hooked into their way of thinking. You have to stay positive, keep a smile on your face.
It's also very hard to stay away from the backstabbing in a job like this. There's a lot of it, and a lot of people find pleasure in negative feedback, negative talking about other people. So it's very hard to stay out of that as well. So I do find that very challenging.
Some institutions, such as Lakeview Manor, attempt to address this issue head-on. The administration knows any decision made about resident care is best made with the input of the hands-on staff, who know the residents' needs best. Staff are made to feel part of a team, and their effort is appreciated. Staff can call a huddle when a problem arises or a decision must be made. All have input. It's a safe place to let off steam, but then to brainstorm and problem solve. But for this philosophy to work, every level of the system must participate, and all staff must take responsibility for supporting their peers. All must pull their weight.
There's some staff members that need more reinforcement and more thank yous than others. More often, they need to feel appreciated. They need positive feedback on a regular basis. And we need to reinforce that and try and give that support to our coworkers.
To care for the elderly or the disabled adult, you really can't do it alone. You can't work alone. You need a lot of support. You need the fellowship of the team, whether it's the team of recreationists that you work with, whether it's the team of healthcare aides that you work with, RNAs, RPNs, whatever. You need to work together and support each other and help each other and stroke each other. Tell each other when you've done a good program. It's very important, and I'm very fortunate to have a supervisor who will listen to me, who will meet with me regularly and hear what's going on frontline, and who will help me problem solve, find solutions to things, and help me realize that which I can fix and that which I can't.
I have much more success when I am bathing her, cleaning her teeth, feeding her, or just talking to her. That if I am at eye level, I have much more success with her. I can communicate much better with her. The challenge for me is in being able to solve problems. And when I'm able to solve a problem, I find it extremely rewarding.
Success breeds confidence and stimulates greater endeavor. We all must have such opportunities. There's nothing more satisfying than a couple of bowling trophies, or to have the chance to create unique greeting cards for which there is great demand. Sometimes the reward is just being there, experiencing being touched, belonging. Reward for the caregiver may only be a brief smile, a tiny nod, but for me, it makes all the effort worthwhile. But if I was preoccupied by resentment, or was feeling cheated, feeling abused by my supervisor if I worked in an institution, I might fail to perceive these signals that could help me make my day. The acceptance of gratification has to come from self, not from others. To recap, for a person to feel whole, there must be satisfaction of primary needs, survival needs, hunger, belonging, security, love. Our esteem is nourished when we are treated with respect and dignity, when we are appreciated for what we do well and supported to be the best we can be. With support and opportunity, we can strive for self-actualization, meeting our goals, knowing we have served a purpose, and feeling successful. The challenge for the caregiver is to provide such opportunities for those they look after. The other challenge for the caregiver is to ensure these needs are met in ourselves also, for we all have the same needs. An individual's life journey has no meaning if it has not confronted obstacles or learnt from the experience it has faced along the way. My life has been greatly changed by this sojourn with Sue. The sum of her gifts to me and others have yet to be measured.
I always think and talk about Sue whenever I go. The main things that I talk about her is her life, her lifestyle, and how much strong she is. I really admire her, because a lot of people, they give up very easily, and you can see it, that they're very depressed when they are disabled. I am a better nurse now because I work with Sue. In future, when I work with the chronic ill in an institution, I will always see them as a human being with feelings.
Yes, with feelings. People tend to pity them and then forget them. So that when people view people like Sue, all they see are her losses and not what is her remaining purpose in life. Well, look again, folks. Sue's productivity has not ceased. Her purpose in life is not yet done. At this very moment, we are making our second educational video. Sue is constantly inspiring others and teaching others, and those who share her life are constantly growing because of the experience. People come to Sue and share their thoughts. They don't need anyone who will give them answers, but someone who will listen with understanding. She hands out the service sheets at church. Her presence is a reminder that life is to be lived. She inspires others not to waste or take for granted what they have, but to use their talents wisely. Sue's desire to be involved, to experience the world around her, to love life, to love and be loved, helps others to get their priorities straight.
Well, what I've learned from looking after Sue, she taught me a lot how to value life. She's been like an inspiration to me, because working with her, I know people who has a limited disability, they tend to give up on life. But oh no, not Sue. You know, she has such a positive attitude, and she really wants to live. You know, a lot of people just give up and say, oh, it's not worth living. But Sue's strong. Sue really enjoys life, and she's having a good life. So that's what I learned from her. She's an inspiration to me.
I try and bring my kids fairly often as possible. I have 4 children, and they range from 9 to 2. And the younger they are, the residents just absolutely love them. A lot of the cases here, people are unable to help themselves in any way. And I discuss this with my children, and I let them visit with these people, and they really enjoy that. And it always helps them to understand that maybe one day when their family or friends that they know are in that condition, they know how to handle it.
I just want to make their the rest of their life as fulfilling as possible. I work with Alzheimer's, and every day to me is a challenge, and I feel that it's a challenge to them, and I just want them to feel that they're loved and needed and respected, and that there's a purpose for them to be here.
Quality of life is important, but particularly quality of dying is very important to me. My way of looking at it is, they're not dead yet. You still give as much care as you possibly can to make that person comfortable, because they have the right to die comfortable and not alone if that's their wish.
Some people publicly fight for the right to die with dignity, and others, like Sue, fight for the right to live. Are the diseased, the elderly, and disabled compelled to have to fight for dignity, control, and purpose? A sad reflection on society when it could learn so much about life from such individuals.
I believe everybody's been put here for a purpose. I believe that nobody is ready to leave the earth until they've had a purpose, until that purpose is done. And I believe a lot of it is for us to learn, and especially the people that work closely with the residents. It's whether it be at home or at your job, where you work. I do believe that they are here to teach us, and it could be all about love. And I'm not really sure I can say all the answers for that, but I do believe we've been put here for a reason.
2 winters have passed since the opening shots of this video were taken, and a lot of living has been done. With the passage of time, Sue is noticeably weaker. But Sue, is life still worth living? Yeah? For me as a caregiver, some days are filled with stress and fear and exhaustion, and others are days of joy and success and fulfillment. Sue's hopes are not for cures and miracles, but to continue to experience without pain life's wonder and mystery. Right?